Our next guest says the GOP's 2011 spending bill that proposes $61 billion in cuts is not enough. So he's submitting an amendment that would add nearly another $20 billion in cuts. His proposal could pit Republicans against each other. Joining us right now from Washington is Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Jordan. Welcome, Congressman.
Good to be with you, Brian.
So where do you see additional money? A lot of Democrats are outraged that they're even going to cut $61 billion from the continuum.
Well, remember, Brian, first of all, if we get to $100 billion, which is where the base bill is, and if we can go a little further, this is still just 1/15 of the annual deficit. So it's not like we're cutting, as the Democrats say, cutting to the bone, and we can't do this. This is something we have to do, and I would argue this is just a good first step to beginning to put us on a path that's fiscally sustainable. And we're looking at across-the-board cuts in outside of national defense. We think that makes sense. We think we can get a few more savings. We like where the bill is now, but we think we can make it even better, and that's why we're offering the amendment.
Now, so you're saying more cuts, and I'm sure there'll be additional outrage, maybe some Republicans, but mostly Democrats. But I also want to talk to you about stimulus, which
Sure.
you chair this subcommittee. You want to find out where the money went. When do these hearings start?
Well, they start this morning, and unfortunately, Christina Romer, who was the architect of the stimulus, we invited her to come testify and, frankly, defend her work product, and she is not going to be there. She has refused to do that. But we're still going to look into this. Remember, this thing was supposed to create jobs. This thing was supposed to keep unemployment below 8%, and, frankly, their projections were unemployment would be at 7% or below at this point, 2 years later. And we know that's just not the case. It's still averaging around 10% in Ohio and elsewhere. And probably most importantly, what this stimulus gave us was record deficits and a $14 trillion national debt. And so we'll point out those things, highlight those things. But I think most importantly, what we're going to try to accomplish is also point out that the president continues to do the same old, same old. His budget that he introduced earlier this week, we think is the same as the stimulus. It's more big spending, it's more big tax increases, and it's more of the approach that frankly hasn't helped our economy, hasn't created jobs.
Right. And by the way, what we just saw while you were talking is unemployment, what it is now, what it was projected to be. In 2009, it was 7.8. In 2011, it's now 9.0, and we're out $790 billion at the very least. Now, the thing is, here's how naive I am. I would think the president would want to know as much as you, because he thought everyone was going to do their shovel-ready project promises.
Yeah.
They didn't do it, and he said as much in the fall last year.
Yeah, no, good point. And it's why we invited, as I said, Christina Romer, we invited Jared Bernstein, we invited the people who's, it was funny 2 years ago when the administration was pushing this, they had everyone here on Capitol Hill talking about how great this was going to be, how we needed to have a record level of spending and most expensive piece of legislation in American history. They were all over Capitol Hill, but now 2 years later, when we want them to come defend what they did and tell us, why it's appropriate to continue this policy in their budget, no one can be found to come testify.
What we're going to do, Congressman, we're going to watch it today and going to bring back some of the highlights tomorrow, and thanks for previewing now. Congressman Jim Jordan, thanks so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Find out.